You're listening to The Secrets of Sacred Art, where we unearth the hidden treasures, history, and deeper meanings in religious and sacred art. We're your hosts, Alix Murray
and Kathryn Laffrey. Welcome to episode 3 of The Secrets of Sacred Art. Color, does it matter? In this episode, we will walk through some basic color theory, psychology, or psychological influences colors have on us, and we'll look at some traditional meanings of common colors in sacred art. This podcast is being recorded as a video, so if you want the full viewing pleasure and see all the details, go to the YouTube channel and check it out there to see all the fun little images we're going to be putting up for you today. So, Alix, do you have a favorite color?
Well, I was thinking about this, and I do like a bit of color, and but I think for me, it's easier to say the colors I don't like versus the colors I do like.
Okay.
So I love saturated colors. So I'm not really picky about, it's got to be orange or red or blue, as long as it has a depth to it. And that doesn't even necessarily mean a darkness, or the hue doesn't have to be really strong, but I do like a lot of saturation. What I don't like are like milk toast kind of wishy-washy, like baby blues and pinks and yellows
Pastels
and greens. No, like marshmallow colors. I really do not like those colors at all. But if it's like a neon color, as long as it's really bold and strong, I love it. And whatever it is, but it has to have presence for me to be interested in it. So I don't really care for things that don't really want to, colors that are just not there. Like they act like they really don't want to be there. Okay, then don't be here. Go do something else. So that's like my long answer. Don't have a favorite color, but as long as the colors are strong and there, I will work with it. I will work with it.
That's definitely something we have in common. I love a good bold color.
Yeah.
Jewel tones. Love them.
Yeah.
Deep rich reds and dark blues. That's always just kind of a fun balancing act though when you're decorating a home with a bunch of other people that live in it.
Yeah, who might not really be into color.
Don't do that. We have so far painted the girls' bathroom 3 times since we've moved here.
Yeah.
Because each one of them had a chance to have the bathroom to themselves. Like, I don't like this color green. It's too soft, and I don't like how my face looks in the mirror. And then it's like, I want to wake up in the morning. Let's make it bright yellow. And then the next person's like, I can't walk in that bathroom in the morning. It's too bright.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. Yeah. So
exactly.
Colors do affect our environment in a big way.
They do. Yeah. Absolutely. And even the parts of the world that you're living in, the colors really, I can remember when we were in Norway, when you talk about the jewel tones, that cool, crisp blue toned, the mountains and the snow on the snow-capped mountains and the blue of the fjords. I remember one day I was tramping up. We lived halfway up a mountain, so I thought I was just going up the mountain one day, and I happened to look across at a little field of bullocks, and the field was like this rich emerald green, or the pasture was a rich emerald green, and the bullocks were black and white, and there were tiny little daisies, white daisies with the yellow centers, and they were kind of in amongst that, and beyond that was this navy blue, almost black fjord, and then with the gray sky, and then beyond that, the mountains. And that was early summer, and I was like, okay, Norway, I forgive you for that winter.
Yeah.
This is pretty amazing.
Spring after winter, right?
Exactly. And it was just the richness of the colors that were coming through were just extraordinary. And I always remember that image and how complementary these were just things that were in nature, and yet the colors were exquisite, the way they complemented each other and the way they really showed off the beauty, the natural beauty. Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you talked about showing off the colors, that was a big push Disney did back in 1961 for the first ever color episode of, and it wasn't called The Wonderful World of Disney. It was the Wonderful World of Color.
Oh,
So
wow.
they wanted to really bring full color to people's homes that, had color TV. We were actually polite to the people that may still have black and white and talked about, what it's like to see things in color and black and white.
Yeah.
There's a great song from that first episode that stuck with me since I was a little kid. I mean, the episode aired before I was born, but
Yes.
in elementary school, they would show little shorts from this episode because there were little educational shorts in there. And one that stuck with me is probably why I was on the path to becoming an artist was Disney Spectrum song written by the very awesome Sherman Brothers, who wrote so many great Disney songs. And it gets stuck in your head. I used to sing it with my girls because we had the CD, so I'm going to just give it my best now.
Okay.
So it goes red, yellow, green, red, blue, 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 red, purple, green, yellow, orange, red, red. Blend them up, and what do you get? Cherise, chartreuse, and aqua, mauve, beige, and ultramarine, and every color in between. My girls would always be like, "What color is that, Mom? I gotta find the color." So just, good old Professor Von Drake, classic little Disney duck who taught me everything about colors and got me hooked on wanting to maybe work for Disney or be an artist someday.
Yeah.
We will definitely put a link to that full episode. It is fabulous just to see how they introduced color to the public on TV. As my girls would say, some of it seems a little trippy. Girls, it was the beginning of the 60s. So the colors look a little crazy.
There you go. Well, I was going to say, I have to say kudos to you for singing. Like between the two of us, I have to say Kathryn has the better voice. She really does.
That was a bad job.
Well done. No. Anything is better than what I could have managed. So I admire the pipes. But
well, thank goodness color has more harmony than my singing just right now.
That's true. Well, that's the thing. That's what's really interesting about, and I know we're going to be talking about music and harmony, but colors do harmonize, and there are things that just naturally go together. And, we have color theory today, but people have been understanding this stuff in a really deep and profound way for as long as there have been people. So, it's almost instinctive, I think, but, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about there's Professor Drake. Yeah.
Speaking of color and music right there, his little spectrum of color, which glanced off of his glasses in the spotlight, landed on the keyboard. And he says, "Oh, look at my wonderful harmony of colors that I have." And yes, like you said, there is harmony in colors. And for years, there have been scientists, musicians, artists, trying to delicately link together color and sound so that they could actually create symphonies with lights changing according to the sound. And,
cool.
Using it in movies, to affect mood and just all that kind of, how does it all fit together? And that's something that's been talked about and changed over the years over and over again, but that will definitely have to be a talk for another time because there's so much to dive into with harmony,
there is
sound, and color. So we're just gonna start back with basics. You might get me singing again here.
There you go. No, you take the lead because
hey,
I think it's fascinating.
Good old. I learned a lot from songs and things like that growing up. So good old Maria von Trapp. When you read, you begin with
do re.
ABC.
Oh, ABC. I was like
when
do re mi.
Yeah. when you sing, you begin with do re mi.
Yeah, I skipped the reading
and
bit.
when we paint, we begin with red, yellow, blue.
Yes, that's true.
That's our sweet little primary colors. Purposely colorized the letters so you can see how they look when they're used all together. So what we have here is basically the central hub of the color wheel. And when I was an art teacher, I loved teaching little kids how to make a color wheel so that they would learn how to mix paints and just have fun figuring things out. You ever made a color wheel, Alix?
I've not made a color wheel, but I have used color wheels a lot. So, but now now I feel like I should make my own, especially,
It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it helps you get a better understanding of how they all work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our sweet little primary colors here, they do have an elementary feel to them. And a lot of elementary journals and books and things, you'll see a lot of use of primary colors. They have great contrast from one another. And I'd have to say probably little babies are most drawn to them because of that contrast. But what's really neat is when you take those primary colors and then start mixing them together, maybe the red and the blue, or the red and the yellow and the blue, that's when we get what's called the secondary colors.
Yeah.
And so here into the color wheel, we've pushed out our primary colors of red, blue, and yellow. And then in between them, when you mix red and blue, you get
purple. Yes.
And we mix the red and the yellow, we get our
orange.
And when we mix the yellow and the blue, we get
green. Yeah, green. There you go.
I had fun making this color wheel on the computer because I actually wanted to see if I could take the two colors and put one lighter layer over the other to get the color I wanted.
Yeah.
So to make the purple, I actually put down the solid blue and then put a little blanket of red over it, but I made the red so that it was partially see-through. And sure enough, it was boom, got that purple. So it's neat though, because you got to think about there's a balance. Some colors are a little weightier than others. So you're not always mixing even amounts.
Exactly. And of course, the background is going to matter as well. You've got a black background here, but if you had a white background, it would look really different because I think the yellow might fade a little bit and not be quite as prominent. But I'm just looking at the colors of the secondary colors, the words, and those are all Mardi Gras colors.
Yes, they are. Yeah. I was as soon as I wrote it out, I was like, oh, that's very seasonal looking.
It is.
Mardi Gras. And we see it a lot during All Saints Day, All Souls Day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we get all these new colors. And then our color wheel's not complete. We need to fill in the gaps in between. So if we mix a primary color with its adjacent secondary color, we get our 6 lovely tertiary colors. They're also called intermediate colors in the middle.
Yeah.
It's just neat to see when it all just fills in. And these colors, these 6, look so good together that they give you a great color palette to work from for maybe a little graphic design or other things like that.
Yeah, and then the other thing is what you obviously you can't show in detail with this color wheel is the gradient between one to another. Those are all colors. I mean, that's what's so cool about it. They're just an infinite number of blues that get you from the primary blue to the tertiary to the secondary blue to the tertiary blue. It's really incredible. Yeah,
just like measuring. There's always another measurement in between. You can take these adjacent colors, mix them together, and get another color.
Yeah.
And depending on whether or not you're male or female, you're going to see more colors.
That's true.
Women
old
Tennessee.
And old and young as well. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. More of you are colorblind than women.
I know. So. Take heart. I'm sure birds have an extraordinary spectrum of colors that we are missing out on. So.
Oh, just like bees.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful to see. They did a little show once showing what bees can see.
Yeah.
And they get to see a whole range of colors that we're missing out on.
I know. It's so amazing.
It changes everything.
Yeah, I saw a video about the colors that deep sea animals see, and it's like if you look at it from their point of view, it's like another planet. It's so incredible. All these
and how colors disappear the farther down you go.
Yeah. But then they see something else. It's so cool. Yeah, it's fascinating. That's when you get into the neon stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You get all kinds of fun things that way. But yeah, it's just neat to see how different the color wheel can be expressed. And I came across this wonderful image.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
fascinating.
this is a 19th century color theory chart. And I believe this might be one of the first times in publication that they use the term tertiary. So I saw that when I was looking up definitions. And
In terms of color, in describing color. Okay, yeah. I was going to say, I think tertiary is a, yeah.
Okay. The colors, the intermediate colors there. We're talking colors today.
Yeah.
But I love how this chart starts at the top. You've got the primary colors and then the neat little overlay of the primary color with another one. And then in between, you get the little change in color. So you have a little bit of orange between the red and the yellow, and a little bit of green between yellow and blue. But what was really neat was the next step in this chart. They took those secondary colors and blended them together. And they have this wonderful little range of neutral colors.
Yeah.
So a nice, an olive and a brown and a slate.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's such a neat little, way of showing those different options.
It is. And it's interesting how they have kind of like the Venn diagram type of imagery there. Because it totally makes sense. Yeah.
It's fun to do with watercolors. If you have a good set, let one dry for a little bit and then brush the other color over it.
Yeah.
It works out real nicely.
Yeah.
Same thing with egg tempera too.
I haven't tried egg tempera, but
oh yeah.
Yeah. One day.
One day. I love how they took all these different colors and overlaid 3 of them together. So the 3 primaries, the 3 secondaries, the 3 neutrals, and each one of them has that same kind of charcoaly black center.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a fun, neat way.
It is. It is really, when you think about it, how is it that you take all these, you've got 9 different colors, but they're all making, when you mix them together, the same color. That's really cool. It's kind of like the number 9. I could go on and on about the number. Oh my gosh, and that was 9 colors. There you go. See? Yeah, we like numbers as well.
Math in there, yeah.
I know. And we'll be talking about that in art. But gosh, every day, you just never know. 9 will surprise you people.
It just sounds like we're going to have a whole topic on 9 soon.
Yeah, 9 and 3, yeah.
But what's fun is with the color wheel, back to our nice bright color.
Yeah.
We've got our different harmonies of color. So complementary colors are across the way from each other on the color wheel.
Yeah.
And just one example, I've got the blue with the orange. I mean, complementary colors are great for sports uniforms. They really pop against each other.
Yeah.
So,
they do.
In Michigan, Detroit Tigers, blue and orange. Yeah.
Oh, is that why you use that? As
maybe.
Opposed to okay. Just wondering.
Yeah. And then a fun little twist on the complementary colors is the split complementary colors. So instead of going straight across, you end up taking the 2 colors on either side.
Yeah.
So instead of just purple with yellow, it's got the 2 intermediate colors with it. So sort of a orange yellow and a chartreuse, I guess.
Yeah. Or kind of, like a chartreuse.
Yeah.
Everyone picture chartreuse in your head. That's
I know. Picture chartreuse little bright green car zooming by.
Yeah.
Usually.
It's like Mike from Monsters, Inc.
Yes.
Okay.
Best way to describe it.
Yeah.
No wonder he looked so pop off the screen there.
Yeah.
But I love how the split complementaries almost have a party feel to them. Got a bit of pop of color. Yeah.
It's again, these are Mardi Gras colors that you've picked out. So don't know if you meant to do that, but they work. They absolutely work.
I like a good party, I guess. And then I'm going to go over it. There's so many other cool combinations available, but I just kind of went with these 4. So the next 2 are triad, which is pretty basic use, kind of stems from the way the primary colors look so good together. You can pretty much spin a triangle anywhere around the color wheel and get a neat little triad combination.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorites are the analogous colors. There's 3 to 4 colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel, and they have, a common color with them. So maybe they all have a bit of red in them, or they all have a bit of yellow, that sort of combination. And the best way to describe analogous colors is any sunset.
Yeah.
That beautiful fade from one color to the next.
That's true. But when you get into the atmosphere itself, then you do get that complementary color. And that's what makes the analogous colors really pop out, because you've got that background of a complementary color.
Yeah, in a previous job, I had a fun task of trying to create a sunset that could be painted quickly on a tiny little magnet. And what I came up with was I laid out the colors and stripes on my palette and dabbed the sponge on it. But the one thing I had to make sure I did was put a separating line between, I think it was green and red, for kind of appearing in a space along that sunset. And I had to separate them so I wouldn't end up with a muddy color in there.
Yeah, of course.
So put a little white in there, and it's like, gave the perfect little pop that we needed. And even we did a blue and an orange were next to each other. So same thing.
Yeah, you had to, because otherwise it's just going to be, everything can descend into brown.
Yeah.
As I'm sure every parent knows when you're like giving your child some paints and markers and you're like, oh, that was so great. Now it's all brown.
Yeah. Yeah, they all start to blend together. They're out there on the sidewalk with their chalk, and it all gets muddied together.
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you know what? It just occurred to me. I wonder if the type of color combinations we like is a reflection of our personalities. You like the analogous ones, and then I tend to like the complementary ones, or the triad. That aren't blending but quite stark and distinct, and then But that's why we work so well together, I think.
That's right. Yeah. So have you used any of those color techniques with your knitting? I know you like to knit different things together. So
yes.
Tried some of those harmonies?
I do. In fact, one of the things I used it for, what I've used the color wheel for, is making Fair Isle knits. Because a lot of the colors, the wool, because I use wool, 100% wool. So, and some of the wool that is used, it's not like a white sheep or white wool. It can be gray or it can be black. And a lot of the times when you want to get those heathered tones, gray wool is used. They'll dye the gray wool to these different colors. And so you can have a blue, but it's a heathered blue, or it's a heathered purple. And they're beautiful colors. They just don't really look that great on me. And so I liked the combination.
Oh, that'd be nice on me.
And so it doesn't really look that great on me. So when I put together a Fair Isle last year, I used a color wheel, and I just compared and contrasted, and I got away from kind of those softer heathery colors, and I used some colors that I thought were a little stronger, more to my taste, and I'm actually my next big project is going to be one using really bright colors and neutrals. So I call it my Obi-Wan Kenobi robe. So maybe when I finish it, I'll wear it, and but yes, I do use, you have to think about these things, because it is something that you're working with, and you can get all kinds of interesting things. And when you're making something, you might as well learn to play with the colors. You don't have to always follow the rules. You can play around and get something really unique. So yes, I do use the color wheel, and I take it out all the time with knitting.
I had to admit, I pushed my grandmother, Busha, Polish grandmother, pushed her crochet skills a little far for her. She used to love working with cream colors and a few dark blues and dark reds and things like that. Mm-hmm. And when my oldest was about to be born, I had planned to decorate the whole room Noah's Ark. And she's like, oh, I want to make crochet a nice little Afghan for her. What would you like? And I told her, I know exactly what I want. And so I went with her to the yarn shop, grabbed this beautiful sky blue and then grabbed every color of the rainbow. It's a Noah's Ark themed room. I want a nice rainbow blanket.
Oh my gosh.
And so she was like, I've never used these colors all together. I'm like, Busha, it's just the rainbow. Just like after the rain, you can do this.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are primary colors too. Oh my gosh.
She loved it. Yeah. So I pushed her buttons again for the next granddaughter too. And we threw in some yellows and mauves and crazy.
Oh my gosh.
For the jungle themed room. So.
Oh, for goodness sakes, your poor Busha.
She handled it well though. She did good. I think
no
she made
doubt.
A few blank ones in between there just to not stress
just to cleanse her palette.
Yeah. So that's the basics of color theory. What's really unique is what's happened in the field of interior design, because they found that colors across the globe have an effect on people.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alix, you're in your lovely green room there.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel nice and calm? A place of relaxation?
This is a gathering place for the family. So perhaps a little bit of relaxation or just time to spending time together. But yeah, I do like this green room.
That is nice. But yeah, what's also interesting about colors is they will also affect kind of our base feeling. So they'll affect our appetite. And some colors, like mustard and ketchup colors, will actually make you feel hungry. And orange and things like that. But there's also colors that will completely turn off your appetite. And if you've ever seen a moldy piece of bread or a moldy orange, you're going to run from that piece and just be like, oh, I can't eat now.
That's true. Although, how do you explain cheese? That's they're always.
I think that's just people just close their eyes and enjoy on that one, quite honestly.
I think so. Yeah. But definitely red makes you feel hungry. I have a little story about red, if you'd like me to share. Okay. So years ago. Oh gosh. Okay. All right. I don't do this sort of thing anymore, but I worked at a wildlife clinic. And mostly we looked after predatory birds. The occasional songbird would come in or waterfowl or whatever, but our main focus was rehabilitating and releasing raptors. And somebody had brought in, thank goodness they'd brought in a nest that had been at the top of a tree that had been cut down. They were building something, and thankfully the construction crew brought the nest in, and there were 3 hawk chicks in this nest, and they were incredibly cute, because they're precocious birds. They're born with their feathers, and they're all fluffy, and they look like little cotton balls with their big eyes. Obviously there's babies have a look no matter what they are. And so my job was to feed them. And I would feed them the raw meat, but I was holding one and he just finished eating and he just looked so cute. And I don't know what came over me, but I decided to give him a kiss on his beak. And I wear red lipstick. And he did not see a loving kiss coming towards him. He just saw another really big piece of meat. And he grabbed my lip. And and even though he was a baby, it was really painful. And I have a scar from that experience, my little hawk kiss. But yes, so red does equal hunger, or maybe food. It equals food. So that's my one. So don't do that, folks. Don't try kissing hawks. They don't like it.
That'll be an interesting lip piercing.
Yeah. You'll remember it. Let's just put it that way. You'll remember if you kiss a hawk and they kiss you back.
Oh, that is so crazy though.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah, there's also colors within interior design. There's a great website called Foyer, Foyr, and we'll put a link to this on there. And they talk about the colors in your rooms and how they have effect on you. So like we were talking about red making you feel hungry. But red also gets your blood pressure up. So you feel energized and you're excited to do things. So it works well in maybe an office space where you want people to really get productive. And these are some pictures actually from around my house and a different home also that I used to own. But I just realized as I was reading through this, going, oh yeah, you want that excitement. And here in my living room, where we have some of the best family conversations, I have a couch and chair that have this pop of red to it. So it really does have some energy spur to it. And then when the Christmas tree's in there in the wintertime, get a nice little complementary color combo going on there between the green and the Christmas tree and the red. So it definitely gets the conversation going. It also reminded me that in our previous house, I had this red color in the kitchen. And it's no wonder with young kids, it was always a very hyperactive place to be in the kitchen. That little bit of red got them going.
Yeah.
But I did learn to calm things down. So blues and greens, those nice cool colors, give you a nice relaxation sense. So we have a little library corner in our family room. And I love this deep slate blue. Didn't mean to change the slide there.
There you go.
And so that's a really nice, calm place to be. It's kind of where we wind down for the night.
Yeah.
And everybody's just kind of the calm down space.
Is that where you watch Star Trek? Is that the room that you?
Yes, that is our room.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, I kind of recognize the color because of a photograph that you sent a while ago. Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I have always found movie theater colors to be the one thing I want in the family room where we're going to be watching movies. I love those old movie theaters, especially the ones where they had the velvet chairs and things like that.
Yeah.
So I like those velvety colors in the family room. But then in our previous home, we had a very narrow, small dining room. And it felt so small. And I was like, I'm going to do a mural in this room. And my husband was afraid it would make the room look too small because of all the paint. I was like, don't worry about it. It's going to make the room look bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of inspired by some of the mural wallpaper that was popular, I think it was 1800s.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So, and I actually picked two of our favorite vacation spaces. Not only that, but on one of the windows, I made sure that the road in the painting lined up with the road outside the window.
Wow.
So when you sat down, you just felt like the whole room just opened up. So
exactly.
That sky blue ceiling. So the colors can really affect your surroundings.
Yeah. Well, that's a green dining room. Oh. Essentially, that's a green dining room, just like mine.
And the sad part about that dining room is when we moved, we had to move before the house sold. And when I came back, the realtor painted over the entire downstairs in white.
Yeah, they will do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the people that bought the home, young couple, they saw the murals I did in the girls' room because those didn't get painted over. And I said, there was a mural in the dining room and I'm sorry it was painted over. And she's like, can you show me pictures? And she's like, I would have loved to have had that as my dining room. I was like, oh, you're going to make me cry.
There you go.
So yes, there are times when, colors and things can appeal to one person or they appeal to everyone and kind of, help place things, give you a good setting. And that's how it is even in sacred art.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you walk into I'd say a fully rendered church with not just stained glass windows and white walls, but stained glass windows and painted walls and ceilings. And somehow you're placed in another world because of the colors.
Yeah.
You're taken to what a church is supposed to do. So that doorway to heaven, so to speak.
Yeah. The city of God.
Yeah. Have you ever had an experience of colors in a room or an atmosphere really affecting you?
Yes. Interestingly enough, the first time I went to Assisi in Italy, we went to the Basilica, St. Francis of Assisi, the Basilica, and we got to see the murals that were painted by Giotto of the life of St. Francis. And a lot of people have probably seen different images from this basilica. And what I had not realized was how big the images were. They were almost life size, and the halos are 3-dimensional, coming out of the walls. And so you really feel like you're coming into this space that is taking you to a different dimension. But the colors in this basilica, so these were all frescoes. So these were images painted on damp plaster. So they, where it wasn't degraded, the color was still quite strong. And it was so overwhelming in a really good way that I felt like my eyes weren't big enough to take in everything. I just wanted to absorb it all. I wanted to be a part of this, everything that was going on in these images. It was just stunning. And I've had that experience a couple of times. I went to, again, a Franciscan, I think it's another basilica. This one was in Krakow, right across from where Cardinal Wojtyła, his residence was. And I think he did celebrate Mass at this Franciscan basilica. Again, the colors were just achingly beautiful. Do you know what I mean? You go in and it makes your heart long for something to just, And a lot of it is obviously the imagery. It's a combination of things, because I can guarantee you, if I'd walked into either one of those basilicas and all of them were like the marshmallow pinks, blues, and yellows, I would not be getting the same reaction.
Yeah. I've been into a few Polish churches in and around the States here. And it's amazing when you see just those layers and layers of colors like that. Recently, I was in where was I? In New England, New Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah. That's not New England, is it? I don't know.
It's over there.
It's one of maybe. Yeah.
Not Midwest. That's all I know.
Oh, there you go. This is like the Midwestern revenge on the East Coast.
Anyway, still beautiful out there.
It is.
So I went into a Polish church for Sunday Mass when I was out that way. And just like you were saying, you step in, you see the colors and I had to stop. I was so glad I went early to Mass so that I would have time to just soak it all in.
Yeah.
And there's so much to see. And then you start seeing things that are leading you to what Mass is about.
Yeah.
What's the service of, the Mass of the day, and then staying after Mass and just, again, taking my time and walking around and seeing everything. And I think that's the best thing, is like the church gives you that opportunity to step outside of the chaos of the world and find God's order and peace and direction inside the church.
And it is something that is, again, it speaks to the dignity of the artist and the creators. It speaks to doing justice to God in worship, but also it speaks to the dignity of the viewer, the person participating in the Mass, or even the person walking around the church. And I just can't emphasize this enough. I think sometimes people don't understand the importance of beauty. I've heard over and over again, and I'm sure you have as well, when it comes to art and the church, why doesn't the church spend this money on the poor? Or why are they why spend it on painting this church or this particular sculpture or architecture? But the poor deserve beauty as much as everyone else, if not more. It is something to remind people of their own inherent dignity, and then in turn to remind us of the dignity of those around us. And that's why it's so important to have really good sacred art in as many churches as we can get them into. And certainly color has a lot to do with that. There are some really special colors in sacred art. And
we're going to talk about those colors now.
Oh, okay.
Before we talk about those colors, though, we need to talk about a class that we were both in.
Yeah.
I don't know if you finished it or not yet.
Nope. Not yet.
I'm like halfway through.
Yeah.
Great class. So this is from Pontifex University, and it's the history and practical theology of images taught by Professor David Clayton. And I was really excited to see there was a lesson that he said he was going to be talking about color.
Mm-hmm.
Like, awesome. I was like, okay. I start listening to it, and he's talking about frames and other things like that. And then he gets to color, and he says, you may think this may be worthy of a whole series of lectures of the color symbolism in Christian art. He pauses and says, well, sorry to disappoint you. And right there is like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, we're not doing a whole series on color? There's so much. But what he was referencing was in who he learned from, Aidan Hart, iconographer from England, not too far from Alix.
Nope.
Yep. And in his book on the techniques of icon and wall paintings, Aidan says there is in fact no hard, fast rules to the color symbols in icons. And again, I'm like, wait, what? I always thought that it's like, this has to be this color, this has to be that color. I actually had a friend of mine that I worked with who took an iconography class while I was doing a painting for a different class in the program. And she told me point blank, you're doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
You can't use those colors. I just took an icon class, and these are the only colors you're allowed to use for this person.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Really? Okay. That's interesting. So do you remember that?
I do.
Class?
I do. And I thought it was interesting. And I mean, I can understand where they're coming from, where there isn't a hard and fast rule, because iconography was really developed from the Roman paintings that, you know, we showed a couple of things from I think a Syrian synagogue in our last episode. And so you can see the influence of just the art of the culture where these icons were developing early on. And of course, then it's a big, long history of how we are now, where we are now with iconography. But I think it didn't surprise me that there weren't any hard and fast rules. And then also, if you read the church's, you know, a lot of writings that the church has, whether it's from St. John Paul the Great or the Catechism, there's a lot of leeway in what an artist can do. So it is not something that is constraining and restrictive in terms of the creativity of the artist. There are certain, I think, rules that make sense to follow in the same way that if you want to speak a language that other people can understand, you're going to have to follow some rules. I mean, you could speak your own language, but you're going to be talking to yourself. You know, we do naturally fall along these lines of rules, but, you know, the colors aren't necessarily part of it. And I think, but having said that, so now I'm going to go a little bit on a tangent. Sorry, Kathryn.
Okay.
I was thinking about this when we get into certain colors that we associate with certain things. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, is it because, do we associate this color with certain things because we as human beings have assigned these meanings to the colors? Or do these colors themselves indicate and communicate to us their meaning? Does that make sense? So,
wow. Okay.
So for example, you know, so this isn't a color, I'm talking about a metal now. So, or an element. So gold, everybody values gold. So obviously it was valued for decorative purposes. Now they use it a lot in technology and we kind of appreciate this element for what it is, but it's something that's been appreciated and valued throughout human history all around the world. So the question is, does gold have a value because people put a value on it, or do people recognize the value that gold inherently has? And it's the same with colors.
And so I say yes.
Yes. No. And so it's the same with colors. So I don't want to jump too far ahead, but let's think about blue is traditionally associated with the Blessed Mother, Our Lady. And it has a certain value, and it's also a particular blue. It's not every blue. And that blue pigment was highly valued. And so we associate it with heaven and with the Blessed Mother and with the protections and all the things that come along with this person who was the mother of God.
Yep.
And so she's got this blue. Why choose blue? Did we choose blue because somebody liked blue, or is it because there was something inherent about blue that people instinctively recognized and then wanted to associate it with her?
Yeah.
So that's my
what we're
question.
going to deep dive into.
Yes. Okay. So that's my question. And I would have to say this. I would love it if anybody has any thoughts about this, who's listening to this. I guess would this be on Discord? We could talk about it. I would love to hear people's thoughts about these colors and why there are no hard and fast rules about the colors we can use in Sacred Heart, but there seems to be certain colors that come up over and over and over again.
And that's what I liked, what Aiden went on to say after he said there's no hard, fast rules. He said that color meaning in icons is a guideline.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what is important is that the choice of colors creates harmonious work reflecting the spiritual beauty of the life of Christ. And that was like, okay, we're trying to show that spiritual hidden understanding. So we're not going to just willy-nilly throw colors out there, and I'll show an example of that toward the end. But let's kind of jump right into just the very beginning, all color and no color. So we're going to start with black and white.
Okay.
All right. So let's add this to the stream. There it goes. So black and white. White in iconography, because white, how it works, how you see, is the reflection of all color. It's thought of as the fullness. So it's of all things. So it's like the fullness of God, that full glory. And then Christ in the Transfiguration, we have an image of the Transfiguration here, was seen dazzling white.
Yeah.
So I actually heard one commentator who maybe is not fully grasping the faith yet, but I think someday he will. He calls it shiny Jesus.
Shiny Jesus.
But yeah, so Jesus, and there's some paintings where he's so dazzling white, he almost looks like they forgot to paint him. He's all washed out. So then to contrast that, black, which black is the absence of light. It's the absorbing of all colors. So think black hole in outer space. Nothing escapes. It's all absorbed in.
Yeah, yeah.
And black then represents that absence of light. So the absence of God. You're thinking of sin. And this little staircase to heaven here, a little ladder of ascension to heaven. You see the demons all in black pulling people down as they're trying to ascend to heaven. And then in the center here, there's a small picture of Christ in the harrowing of hell. And the cave that's representing hell is all painted dark black. So he's bringing them out of death, out of sin, out of the lack of light into his light. And he's wearing all white.
Yeah. And actually he's crushing, I like how he's crushing a demon there under the door.
Under the door, yeah. He's giving a good squash.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to say, I think I have it behind me. So my ivory black paint. The craziest thing is when I open this up and look inside the jar. Yeah. I feel like there's nothing there. It's like you can't see the grains, you can't see anything. It's
just a hole.
It's just a hole. It's just bizarre, especially when my wet brush gets dipped in there and it's like the bristles just disappear into the black.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how black, can just absorb everything.
It can do. And
leave that hole, that emptiness.
Yeah. And I think in going along, isn't this interesting in terms of how we understand white and black on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it would be the light spectrum.
Yep.
When we theologically talk about good and evil, evil is not equal to, and this, it's not like the Force where you've got the dark side and the light side and they're kind of equal and they want to balance. Theologically, evil is the absence of good. There's something missing there. And I just find it fascinating how that is how evil is depicted, is an absence of light, an absence of good. But then as people are understanding from a scientific perspective, what light is and what dark is, it actually matches up with a theological definition of good and evil.
Yes.
Which kind of goes back to my whole thing about the blue, right? We don't know. We got to think about these things.
We should go on to the blue right now.
Okay.
Blue and red get used a lot in sacred art. And I purposely have here 2 depictions of Mary with the Christ child on her lap. Slightly different poses, but very similar.
Yeah.
But what I wanted people to see was the switching of the coloration on Mary. Sometimes Mary has a blue outer garment and a red undergarment, and sometimes it's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes she's wearing a blue outer garment with a white undergarment. And some depictions of Mary can also be based on apparitions of Mary. She's appeared in different places around the world in slightly different colorations, but it's all still her. She's just using those colors, especially for the people that she's appeared to.
Yeah.
So it has a connection, much like Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico. Her colors were significant to Juan Diego and his people. And not only that, but the people of the church that were already there too. It all came together.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you were saying about blue, the sky and heavenly, or dark blues like the depth of the ocean, it feels endless. So you have blue a lot of times representing divinity, heaven. And why would Mary be wearing blue?
I'm going to let you answer the question, boss. Now, I think it's something that, it is something to do with perhaps the queenship of Mary, the blue, perhaps for her.
And she's participated in the one coming together of man and the divine.
That's right.
She was Mother of God. She participated in bringing the divine to us as man.
Yeah. So that's why she's clothed in the heavenly blue to show that participation. That's interesting. I had not thought about that.
Yeah, and then red is a very earthy color. You're from the South, Alix.
I am.
The red clays of the South.
That would be in Alabama. That would be the next state over.
There's also in Georgia and
Kentucky,
that's true. And Tennessee. There's a lot of red clay.
That's true. Yes. So
very earthy color.
It is very carnal.
Yes. You think, like you said, your little friend and pecking at your lip, thinking you're meat.
Exactly. Not quite as dignified as some of these images here, but But
so red definitely defines humanity. So in the image of Christ that we have here, he's wearing red to show his humanity. He's wearing blue to show his divinity. We have his two natures, both human and divine.
Yeah.
But like we talked about before, with red being something that gets your blood pressure up, there's an excitement there. There's also a passion associated with red. So a lot of times you'll see Christ halo in red with his cross on there to make us think about the passion that he suffered for us, the love he has for us.
And even as a child, it does reinforce good theology. So it wasn't as if he became God or he became aware of who he was. He was always who he said he was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have his red cross and all of these halos, even as a young child.
Yeah.
I found it interesting in the first image that's up there that Christ is clothed in green and orange.
I was looking at the green, and I was thinking that as well, because I think green is also an indication of the material world.
Yes.
But I wonder if the orange might be a degradation of the red pigment because of time,
It could be
or
pointing toward the gold.
that. And I was going to say, or it could be because there's quite a bit of gold on there, and that might have just distorted the red ever so slightly.
Yeah. So speaking of gold, that is our next color to talk about. Cannot skip this image of Christ. This is from the Hagia Sophia,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful mosaic. You can't get more gold and beauty than that. Well, some people might argue some other places, but they're beautiful golden mosaics. And gold is very significant in expressing the eternal day that was in Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
It's God's glory, his unending light. And that's what that gold is reflecting, to kind of put you what it would be like to be in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, do you know the story behind this image? It's the Pantocrator.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know the story behind why we have this image anyway?
Like how it survived?
Yeah.
Or wasn't it like plastered over?
It was. So with the when the Muslims came in and they took over the Hagia Sophia, they of course were preparing to destroy these images because that was in conflict with their belief system. But the general, I don't think he was called a general. I can't remember what the exact term was, but he was so taken aback by the beauty of the mosaics. He said, cover them up, don't destroy them, because maybe one day we'll resolve this issue. And that is how these amazing images have been preserved throughout time. So you just never know how things there are a lot of things in history that were discovered and rediscovered with someone wanting to use it for another purpose, but they managed to instead preserve it for future audiences and people.
And then the other image that I put up here is a crucifix I painted. Didn't have skills in gold work yet, but I did see that another option for gold is to do a bright yellow. And so in and around the background of the cross and in Christ's halo, I used a vibrant, bright yellow that would really kind of help give that golden glow to it.
So one of the things that I think is interesting here, Kathryn, in your crucifix is the halo. So when I first glanced at it, I thought, oh, wait a minute, where's the red cross within the halo? And I noticed that you've got the red there, you've got the cross, and you've got the red in the letters or in the words, I am. And I think that's quite clever. So is that something that you planned out, or was that something, the use of the red in the lettering, is that something that just happened? How did you come about that?
The use of the red was planned out. When I was painting this, I was asked to make it coordinate with a smaller crucifix similar that they had in their chapel area. And on that one, the halo was all gold.
Okay.
And it had a few like red outlines. So the cross that's in the halo, it's not very visible in the small size, but on my website, you can probably zoom in and see it better. I did outline the halo and the little lighter cross, and the I am is all in red.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of pulls together. There's the deep border that goes around the outside too, and a little bit of the red from Mary's garment.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did find a really neat picture that kind of puts all of this together in one setting. So we have the use of all the colors we just talked about.
And then some.
And then some, yeah, some bonus colors.
Yeah.
So this is an image of the Nativity. And you have, I'm not exactly sure who the saints are on either side. I forgot to mark that down. But what's really
I would say I think it's Peter and Paul.
Okay.
I'm just going with it.
Be.
Yeah, just because of the one is an old man with a beard. He's not carrying any keys that I can see, although it looks like he might be in his hand, his raised hand. And then, Paul is always depicted as someone with a little bit of a receding hairline.
Now, see, I would say yes for Paul, the receding hairline, but seeing Peter in purple and red kind of throws me off. I'm used to seeing him in yellows.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
again,
for the Vatican colors, but I think whenever this was depicted or whenever this was painted, I don't know what, again, there are no hard, fast rules, Kathryn. Don't get hung up on colors, please.
Right?
Thank you.
That's what makes this so neat. And like Aiden said, it's like a cultural language you need to learn. So this is one of those secrets we got to try to figure out here.
Exactly.
So we have the gold background, which gives us that heavenly light, the eternal day.
Yeah.
But there's also a little bit at the top above the cave and tunnel or cave and mountain area. There's a little bit of blue to give that heavenly blue. And then inside the cave of the stable area, it's all black.
Yeah.
So we have, this is like life before Christ. There's no light. He's the light of the world, and he's swaddled in white. So it kind of pops that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is really fascinating. I'm just looking at this image and I love how the colors, and these are the amazing things colors do. So the red and the blue, if you go back to the color wheel, they're complementary colors, and they really just draw the eye into the cave, into the dark. And right at the center is this little swaddled baby with his halo. And I was even thinking about looking at the horns of the ox. It's almost like a moon. It echoes a crescent moon. And then on top of that, you've got the star. And then above that, it really just brings the eye down, down, down. And you can even see, if you look really closely, you can see the rays coming down from the star right above the manger. And they're down right directly over baby Jesus. And
I love how Mary is primary colors. She has a yellow halo, her red around her. She's almost swaddled herself, and then wrapped in her blue robe. And so it's just that primary feel. This is where it all comes from.
Down to the basics. Yeah, and hidden in the cave, hidden in this tiny space that the salvation of the world took place. It's incredible.
And I love Saint Joseph in his soft rose color robe.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize the significance of that rose color. And I wasn't until I was, working this up that I realized that I had used that rose color in an art project that I did with my 7th grade catechism class, where we were going through and assigning a color with each of the gifts of the Holy Spirit that they would receive the following year in confirmation. And so for that love of the Lord, we had pink.
Okay.
It's like that, just that feeling of love, that deep, soft love that you have. And so having St. Joseph in that pink made me feel like, just that strong, loving man to take care of them.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking also with the rose vestments during Advent. I'm sure there's probably, this would all make a lot of sense in the set, in a liturgical setting, this image.
Yeah.
It is a mystery. And there are a couple of, you see a couple of angels and they have pink on. And I suppose we should also say this is not an icon. This is a Gothic image, it's not iconographic. And there's certain elements that let us know that it's not an icon, but it's a Gothic image. And one of it is, again, there are no hard and fast rules, but typically in icons, you would not have people in profile. And there is a little bit of depth. There's a forefront and a background here, which you wouldn't get. But it's a lovely. It does definitely have iconographic elements to it, but it also has some really beautiful Gothic elements as well. It's really. Do you know who did this? Do you know who made this image? Or
I will put that one in the show notes. I'm sorry, don't have it with me.
Okay.
Right now.
I was going to say, but typically, a lot of sacred art is not signed.
Right.
So it'd be
usually
nice.
You just get a century mark for different pieces. So the next image, I gotta warn you, it's going to be a shocker.
Okay. I'm sitting down. So.
Okay, good. Because this is all about, do colors really matter? So I had a little fun on the computer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I took one of my paintings.
Yeah.
Sorry. So this is a painting I did for a amble frontal, or front of a lectionary in the church I used to go to. And we have Christ depicted in majesty in the center, surrounded by the 4 living creatures that represent the 4 gospel writers. And I did this with my catechism class because I took the outline of this only and let them color it. But I wanted to show them the significance of thinking about what color you color things. And so I played around with the hue setting in my art program on the computer and really just messed with the color wheel.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. So it's kind of interesting to think about, do colors matter? Yeah, I mean, you can't just have Jesus dressed in purple and green.
No.
Or it kind of, you feel like it's a different feeling. There's different colors do have different meanings for us.
They do. And I think also, it also is influenced by where we are. You and I are up in the northern hemisphere. And so we're used to looking at a lot of rich greens and blues and these jewel tones, winter colors, I guess is what they're called. But then if you go someplace, like India, my husband, when he's done lots of work all around the world, in case people haven't picked up on that. So we've gone to different places. But in India, he sent me photographs of a cathedral, and they were extraordinary. But the amount of red used in terms of the ratio to blue was much greater, and the blue was actually had a red undertone. But if he's like, well, if you go outside, these are the colors that people see. And so they do make sense to their eyes because it's a way of them connecting to it. And so I'm just looking at the one that has a lot of the red in it, the one right below the original. And as we were talking, I was like, do you know what? You could probably tweak that just a little bit and maybe put it in, is it a Malabar Syro church? And it would be absolutely appropriate and people would really connect with it. Yeah. We went to a mass at a Syro Malabar church. And when I first walked in, I was kind of struck by all of the reds. To me, it just looked like, wow, look at all these reds and golds and this blue. It's almost like a teal blue, not a teal blue, like a peacock blue. Okay. And, but then I thought, but this makes sense. It's beautiful. It was beautiful. It was just, It took a minute for my mind to make sense of it because it was so different from what I was used to. Yeah. I don't know anybody.
They go so far as putting red on the ceiling instead of blue on the ceiling, like a lot of Western churches or even Eastern Rite churches might have the ceilings in blue with gold stars, or the sanctuary might have that deep blue with gold stars.
No, do you know what? To be honest, I don't remember, but I do remember. Maybe I'll have to go back. It was up.
Just for a hint, people, when you go into a church, look up.
Yes. And you know what? And take some photographs.
Yes.
And share it with us.
Exactly. Yeah, that was our crazy little last color. I don't think we'll ever go for the green and purple Jesus or
some of them are a little bit, and you do see when it's done well. And I think and I guess this is where I'm going back to the saturation of color. Mm-hmm. There seems to be the saturation of color, I think, suggests legitimacy or authority. Whereas, the marshmallow colors that I don't like, there's something just to not be taken seriously. It's not something that we should pay that much attention to, which is a terrible thing when you think that babies are wrapped up in those colors. That's not what I mean, but it's when you're trying to get a message across, a very serious message across, or something that is speaking to the dignity of people, you don't want to use colors that really can be easily, forgotten or passed over.
Yeah, you want that message to come through strong.
Exactly.
So we can see so far from like what we talked about. We've barely touched the surface.
Yes.
What can happen with colors, and just knowing like colors change culturally. Your environment affects your culture, your color combinations and thoughts, and not only that, but then there's just the color use on statues and murals and icons, vestments, stained glass windows. All those colors kind of change and tweak a little for where they're used. I had the pleasure of taking a statue to be refinished and seeing the 100-year-old book that was used for recording and documenting what statues have what colors based on their pose.
Oh, okay.
So they had a whole chapter on St. Joseph. And depending on how St. Joseph was posed, it actually changed what colors he was wearing to try to present a different
to communicate a message through that. Fascinating.
If you wanted to show his connection to King David, you're going to put some royal purple on him. If you want to show him as the earthly father who's, foster father to Jesus to take care of him, then they go with the browns.
Yeah.
It's just neat to see how they play off those different understandings of the spiritual reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that people have understood and knew for a long, long time. And it was a way of communicating. And, we want to kind of just rediscover these things so people can go into churches. And we always say this, go into a church, go into a museum. When you look at something, you're going to be gleaning a lot of information that might not be well known to everybody. And because there's so much depth to it, and hidden treasures in it.
Well, knowing that we can go on and on and on about colors.
Yes, we can.
Our next episode is going to be about what?
So our next episode is going to be about a particular painting or two paintings and their story and our story within their story. And it's going to be about Joseph of the Old Testament. So if you want to hear about how you, in your own way, participate in his story and you want to find out the stories of these panels, you're going to have to join us again. So until next time, I'm Alix Murray.
And I'm Kathryn Laffrey, hoping you find something beautiful.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.